middle school! We're going to go over this second passage in that packet that I sent home. You're going to want to have your questions answered, preferably by class tomorrow for this second passage and then for this first passage. I already have a couple answers from the first passage. I know I wasn't clear on it previously, but all of these should be answered in Spanish, preferably in complete sentences. Actually, I'm going to change that. Definitely in complete sentences. Now, what that's going to mean is that you are going to be restating the question in a couple instances, such as ¿de qué nacionalidad es Enrique, español o estadounidense? So in order to answer that, you say Enrique es, and then you would have to choose one of these. That's all you have to do to make a complete sentence in Spanish. So take a look at these questions over here. If the answers to your first reading are in English, that's okay. I didn't make that clear. However, starting in the second reading, they will need to be in Spanish. And then going back to this first reading, I want to go over these two vocab words, alumnos, which means students, and colegio, which means high school, because those will come up in this second reading. So let's get going. Los estudios. El Colegio Glenview está en una ciudad pequeña de los Estados Unidos. So we have el colegio right off the bat. There's our vocab word. Colegio Glenview or Glenview High School está en una ciudad pequeña de los Estados Unidos. So Glenview High School is in a ciudad pequeña. That whole phrase, sorry, my camera's falling. There we go. Ciudad pequeña, that whole phrase is defined right here, small city. And then Estados Unidos, we remember from class, that is how we say United States in English. So Glenview High School is in a small city in the United States. Enrique y Maria son alumnos del cuarto año. Alumnos, there we go, students from our first reading. Cuarto año, that phrase again is defined right here, fourth year. So Enrique and Maria are students in fourth year or year 4 del secundaria. Secundaria is defined over here as high school. Now you'll notice this is another way to say high school, and in this definition, high school is not capitalized. Es su último año. It's their último, final year. Año, don't forget, that's year. Estudian mucho para prepararse para la universidad. They study, estudian, that's a conjugation of our verb to study or estudiar, mucho para prepararse. Now this one's a little more difficult. In order to study is an infinitive, and actually the infinitive does appear right here, preparar. This se gives some possession to them preparing. But we have not gone over this at all. But this preparar right here, to prepare. Para la universidad. So they study a lot in order to prepare themselves for college, university, however you want to say this in this case. Son muy estudiosos. So they are very studious. En el colegio hay muchos alumnos que estudian español. Depending on whether or not you had me last year, you may or may not be comfortable with this phrase. I can be used in two ways, statements or questions. In a statement, it means there is or there are. In a question, it means is there or are there. So this is done in a statement. So in high school, there are, plural because muchos alumnos, all of that is plural. So there are a lot of students that study Spanish. María es alumna del cuarto año del español. So Maria is a student of the cuarto año. Cuarto año is defined up here, fourth year. So is a fourth year student of Spanish. María y sus compañeros del cuarto año tienen mucho interés de la literatura. Now, sus compañeros, if you remember from chapter 1, compañeros de clase is classmates. Now here, they just use the word compañeros as classmates. Either way can be used. So Maria and her classmates, sorry, wrong line. Maria and her classmates of fourth year, so Maria and her other fourth year classmates, have a lot of interests in literature or find literature very interesting. Estudian la literatura español y latinoamericana. So they study, all right, the they in this, again, this is a conjugation of estudiar, to study. The conjugation of this implies they. We're referring to the they discussed in the previous sentence, Maria and her classmates. So they study Spanish literature and Latin America literature. Our adjectives for literature come after the noun. Final paragraph. Los alumnos del cuarto año conversan mucho en español. So the students of year 4 conversan, conversar. So this is a conjugation again. So they talk a lot, converse a lot in Spanish. Como Enrique es español, María practica con él. So como here, that's defined. Since Enrique is español, Spanish, and Maria practices with him. Hablan de varios temas. Ella habla muy bien. Ella habla muy bien. Yes, I think I just said that. So hablan, now they speak on various topics, and she speaks very well. Now for your questions. ¿Dónde está el Colegio Glenview? You should be able to remember how to translate that question. ¿Dónde está? Where? ¿Estudian mucho Enrique y María? So this is, if you take out the question marks, estudian mucho Enrique y María, and make this a statement, it becomes estudian mucho, they study a lot. Who is the they? Enrique and Maria. Now we turn it into a question. So what is the question asking? We still keep the same idea of what I just said in the statement, but we've turned it into a question. And ¿en qué tienen mucho interés María y sus compañeros? All right, so even if you didn't completely understand what this question was asking, interés, you have to think, where did this word appear? Oh, it appeared up here, interés, when we're talking about what they found interesting. ¿Con quién practica el español, María? ¿Quién? There's one of your question words. All right? And we're talking about práctica. So what is this question asking? Don't forget, con is one of those connective words with. María habla bien el español. So this is a question that we can turn into a statement just by taking out the question marks. Or in other words, it's a statement that we can turn into a question just by adding question marks. Remember, there's a very specific type of question that we can do this to. It's those yes or no questions. In order to answer yes or no, though, you will have to figure out what this question is asking. Now remember, all of this needs to be answered in complete sentences, which for the most part just means that you are going to have to restate these questions as statements and then add a little bit to the end, but not much. All right, have this ready for class on Wednesday, and we're going to go over all of this. Hopefully by then you will have turned in your first assignment, which is going to be graded for technology. If you have any questions, please find me on Teams, or if you're having trouble logging into Office 365, email me. All right, thank you guys. Bye.